Now, to understand the concepts in this chapter, first we make a discussion regarding different types of cost. Yeah, different types of cost. Now tell me, continuing that same example, if this pencil is the product that I manufacture, I am manufacturing these pencils, then tell me, in my factory, in my company, in my factory, there will be like hundreds of items of cost that I incur. Can you give me some examples of which items of cost will I incur? Raw material cost, okay. Yes, Mohammed, what else? Labor cost, yes, Nimi. Roshan, yes. What else? Chalo, I'll start noting it down. You told me material cost, labor cost, electricity expense, yes, traveling expense, packaging expense, overhead. Sri Lakshmi, overheads is a complicated word. Let us not get into that right now. I will explain what does that mean later. But yes, power consumption cost, rent expense, so many other expenses I will incur, right? Insurance, yes. So you can imagine that other than material and labor, there will be so many other items of cost that we incur. Let us cover all these other items as other expenses. So right now, initially, I classify my cost under only three components, that is material cost, labor cost, and other expenses. Let's say let's say if this is the pencil that I'm manufacturing, then now you give me example that for manufacturing this pencil, what would be example of material cost? What kind of material do I consume in manufacturing this pencil? Plastic, yes, because this is a mechanical pencil, so plastic material is used. What else? Lead is used, yes, lead, that is the lead which is kept inside, okay. Rubber is used, yes, rubber is used for the rubber grip, and rubber is used for the eraser which is at the back over here. Yeah. So let's say, chalo, three types of material I am consuming here. Plastic is the main material. To some extent, rubber is also used, and to some extent, lead is also used. Let's say main material is plastic. Do you agree that the main material in making this product is the plastic? Right? So plastic is my main example of material. But I ask you one more further question. Let's say instead of asking that what is the material used in making this pencil, instead of that question, I change my question. Listen carefully. Now, I change my question and I say that what are the materials which are consumed in my factory? Give me some more examples of material which are consumed in my business. Any materials which are consumed in my business other than plastic, other than the rubber, or other than the lead. I'm asking about material. Manoj, I'm asking about material. Now, what does material mean? Let us understand that. When I say material, means any cost which is in the form of some units which can be stored, it can be kept in my godown, it is consumed from the store, and if it is extra, it is sent back to the godown. Tell me, can you do that for labor? Can you do that for workers? Can you store the workers in the godown, use them and put it back? No. Do you understand what am I asking? Can you do that for power consumption, Manoj, electricity? Can you store the power consumption in the godown, use it, and whatever is extra you put it back? No, material means those items of cost which are kept in the storage. You consume them, and if it is extra, you put it back. Give me such examples. Yes, packing material could be an example. Files and papers could be an example. Yes. What else? Some more examples. Fuel could be an example. Yes. Tools, okay. Tools and fixtures, etc. Spare parts. Yes, could be materials. Yeah. Chalo, good enough. All these examples that you are giving me. Now tell me, plastic, fuel, tools, packing material, and let's say lubricants which are used in the machines. Don't you think all of these are basically nature of materials only? All of these are basically types of materials, right? Okay, let me make that list longer over here. Just a minute. I'll write three examples here. Lubricants is an example, lubricants which are used in the machines, or say paper, files, and other stationery items. Yeah. Or say packing material. So tell me, aren't all of these also materials? This is also material, this is also material. Any difference between plastic as a material and lubricants, paper, packaging as a material? Both are materials, but there is some difference here. Yes. So the difference here is direct material, indirect material. So first I classify all my items of cost as material, labor, and other expenses. But now I further classify all my items of cost as direct versus indirect. Direct and indirect. Direct and indirect. Chalo, materials could be direct material or could be indirect material. Same way, labor could be direct labor, indirect labor. Same goes for other expenses. Right now, let us talk about material. What does the word direct mean? What does the word indirect mean? The word direct means it is directly related to your final product. In my example here, my final product is making these pencil. So making the pencil, if this is the final product, then the cost, then the material which is directly consumed in making this final product is called as the direct material. Now you see, look at this pencil. Do you see that the plastic is consumed in making this pencil? Yes, you can see the plastic on the pencil. So plastic is a material which is directly consumed in making this pencil. But looking at this pencil, on this pencil, do you see lubricants on this pencil? No. Do you see packaging material on this pencil? No. Do you see paper on this pencil? No. These are also materials which are used in my factory, but these are not used directly on making this product. These are called as indirect material. Direct means the materials which are directly used for producing the product. Indirect means it is used in the company but not directly on the product. You see the difference? Lubricants are used in the machine. Machine is used to make the product. Paper is used in the accounting office, admin office. Admin office is there to administer, manage the entire business. Yeah, that is called as indirect cost. Can you differentiate direct versus indirect here? Direct means directly related to the product, directly incurred on making the product. Indirect means not directly related to making the product. Acha, tell me, what about packaging material? Don't I incur packaging cost on this pencil directly? When you purchase this pencil from the market, don't you see there is a plastic covering on this pencil? The plastic covering on the pencil is a packing material. Then shouldn't the packing material be a direct cost? It is directly incurred on this pencil. Well, let me tell you, packing cost might be directly incurred on this pencil. Yes, it might be directly incurred on this pencil. Yes, but it is not directly incurred for manufacturing this pencil. You see the difference? It is not directly incurred for manufacturing the pencil. It is incurred after manufacturing the pencil. Can you understand the difference? Packing is incurred after manufacturing the pencil. It is not directly related to manufacturing the product. So understand, when I say direct cost means what? When I say direct cost means directly related to the product. No, it means directly related to manufacturing of the product. It is not just directly related to the product, it should be directly related to the manufacturing of the product. Yeah, packing is not required for manufacturing, it is incurred after manufacturing, so that also becomes indirect cost. Okay, yeah. Second example, labor. Can you give me example for labor? Well, labor basically means the wages that are paid to the workers. Yes, so wages that are paid to the worker. Example, the wages paid to the factory workers. Yeah, the wages paid to the factory workers will become direct labor. Yes, Salman, directly engaged in manufacturing process. Agreed. So the factory workers who are working inside the factory are directly engaged in the production work, directly engaged in the manufacturing work. Yes, that becomes direct labor. Can you give me example for indirect labor then? Supervisor, yes. Security guard, yes. Administrators, like say accountant salary, okay. Salesperson salary, absolutely, yeah. So indirect labor, example, say security guard, or let's say better, supervisor, the factory supervisor, okay, accountant, or say salesman. All those salaries will become indirect labor, correct? Yeah. And then comes other expenses. Now other expenses will include variety of other expenses like say power consumption, other expenses like rent of the factory, yeah, other expenses like many other items. Anything other than material and labor will fall under other expenses. Okay, yeah. Now for other expenses, Again, there can be direct and indirect. But for other expenses, direct cost, I'm giving one example which, see, there are very few examples for direct cost of other expenses. Very few examples. And most of your questions will not contain direct expenses because there are very few examples. So for that, I am not asking you for an example. I am giving example from my end. Let's say my example here is production royalty. I'll tell you what it means. Let's say I am manufacturing these pencils as per a particular design, but the design which I am using is not created by me. So the design was created by Salman. I'll take one of you as an example. So Salman was a product designer, and Salman, you created this design here. Now, if you created this design, so the design that you created is patented by you, like Fulsuk Wangdu. Yeah, so Salman is like Fulsuk Wangdu. Do you remember Fulsuk Wangdu? Oh, Three Idiots wala. Yeah, so many patents on his name. Yeah. So Salman has patented the design, and he is the patent owner of the design. Now, if I am manufacturing my product as per design patented by Salman, then don't you think for every unit that I manufacture, for every unit that I produce, I need to pay some royalty to Salman? This is called as production royalty. This is called as production based royalty. It is not royalty on sales. It is not that I am using brand name of Salman to sell my product. No. If I'm using your brand name, then it is called as sales royalty. I pay royalty to you based on how many units I sell under your brand name. No, but this is not the royalty which I pay for using your brand name. This is the royalty which I pay for using your production design. Now that is directly related to my production, directly related to manufacturing of the product, right? That can become my direct other expenses. While indirect other expenses, well, there can be so many examples. Indirect other expenses, like say factory rent, or indirect other expenses like say admin office rent, or indirect other expenses like say showroom rent, rent of the showroom, rent of the admin office, rent of the factory premises. All types of rent will become indirect expenses. Same goes for say maybe electricity consumed in the admin office will become indirect cost. Electricity consumed in the showroom will become indirect cost. Electricity consumed in the factory, well, it depends on your nature of your production. In certain companies, factory power consumption is put as a direct expense, and in certain companies, factory power consumption might become indirect other expense. Depends on the nature of your product, depends on how are you able to identify electricity consumed. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. Right now, that's why right now I'm giving you more easy examples to understand. Yeah, so these are my all items of direct cost, which is directly related to manufacturing of the product, while indirect cost are the ones not directly related to manufacture of the product. In fact, the examples that I gave you, let's say for labor, one of you gave me example of security guard. Tell me, security guard can be an example for labor, but security guard, okay, let's take right now supervisor only as the example. Security guard later will take. So supervisor is an example for indirect labor. Accountant is an example for indirect labor. Salesman is an example of indirect labor. Why indirect? Because these guys are not directly associated with making each unit of the product. Do you understand what does indirect over here indicate? Yes, very clear with that. Okay, then one more term, one more name you need to know. Well, the total of all items of direct cost, direct material plus direct labor plus direct other expenses, the total of all items of direct cost is named as prime cost. Prime cost, you need to remember this name, it will be useful in almost every chapter, right? And the total of all items of indirect cost is called as overheads. One of you had written the word overheads earlier, but at that time I had not explained what does overheads mean. Now you see overheads means what? Overheads means all items of indirect cost. Prime cost means all items of direct cost, because these costs are primarily associated directly with making the product, while overhead cost is not directly associated with making the product. These are called as overheads, and these overheads can be further classified into three categories. These overheads are further classified into three more categories called factory overheads, admin overheads, selling and distribution overheads. Yeah, factory overheads, admin overheads, selling and distribution overheads. Means what? Factory overheads. Factory overheads means indirect cost incurred inside the factory premises. Well, tell me, out of all these examples, which is the indirect cost incurred inside the factory premises? So I have given you three examples under indirect material. Three examples of indirect material. Which example incurred inside the factory? Which indirect material is incurred inside the factory? Exactly. Lubricant is incurred inside the factory, right? Which indirect material is incurred for admin purpose in the administrative office? Yeah, paper or stationery, or say printing pages, printing cartridge, ink for the printer and all that will become the stationery items or stationery material which is used for admin purpose. Yeah, and for selling and distribution, packaging material is a material used for selling and distribution. So you notice that every item of indirect cost can be further classified between factory, admin or selling. Same goes for indirect labor. Chalo, you tell me. Total three examples of indirect labor. Which is the indirect labor incurred inside the factory? Exactly. The supervisor salary is incurred inside the factory. Which is the indirect labor incurred for admin purpose? Accountant salary, yes, incurred for admin purpose, yes. And for selling distribution, you can say the salesman salary is incurred for selling distribution. Same goes for rent. Factory rent falls under factory overheads. Admin rent will fall under admin overheads, and showroom rent will fall under selling and distribution overheads. In fact, say for indirect labor, you gave me example also of security guard. Yeah, tell me, security guard, the wages paid to security guard, it is an indirect labor, correct? But the wages of that security guard will fall under which indirect labor? Factory, admin, or selling? Tell me, security guard, factory, admin, or selling? Trick question. No, it's not that simple. It's a trick question. You tell me. Think and answer. Socho, socho. Well, the answer is not so simple. It depends. Depends that where is that security guard located. Think, if the security guard is at the factory gate, then the wages of that security guard will become factory overheads. If that same security guard is shifted to the admin office, the security guard is standing at the door of the admin office, then his salary will become admin overheads. And if that security guard is at the showroom, then his salary will become selling and distribution overheads. You understand that? You need to understand the nature of the cost, that where is it located. So in short, if the total of all the indirect costs are called as overheads, and if the overheads is incurred in the factory premises, it is called factory overheads. If it is incurred in admin premises, it is called admin overheads. And if that overheads is incurred for selling and distribution, it is called as selling and distribution overheads. And I'll give you all those examples here. Yeah, I want you to note down the examples like this. Factory overheads. Example, lubricants used in the machine, supervisor salary, factory rent that you pay, or security guard at the factory. Admin overheads. Example, paper use in the office, accountant salary, admin office rent, or security guard at the admin office, right? And selling overheads. Example, packing material, salesman salary, showroom rent, or even security guard at the showroom. Then please make this entire chart like this. Types of cost: direct cost, indirect costs. Okay, I'll give you a couple of minutes. Just copy everything like this. Types of cost can be direct or indirect. Within direct, it could be material, labor, and other expense. Within indirect, it can be material, labor, other expense. Total of all direct costs is called prime cost. Total of all indirect costs is called overheads. Overheads can also be classified as factory, admin, and selling. Copy that and let me know once you're done. Let me know once you're done writing this. Done, done, done. Okay. Now, why did I discuss these all items of cost? Well, because the chapter which we are starting is about cost sheet. Cost sheet is a method of identifying my total cost. Yeah, cost sheet is basically a format to identify my total cost. Like you see in my example here, we identified estimated cost per unit 20. Now, don't you think that in order to find my cost as per unit, first I need to find total cost, then divide number of units, it will give me cost per unit, right? So to identify this per unit cost, first you need to identify total cost, and to identify total cost you need the format of cost sheet. Yeah, so the purpose of cost sheet is to identify total cost. That total cost in my costing subject is called as cost of sales, COS. So there are various items of cost. There are various names that we will be learning over here, and after learning so many items of cost, we will eventually learn what does cost of sales mean, how to calculate that. But the purpose of cost sheet is to calculate the cost of sales. Cost sheet is a standard format. I will show you the format now, but right now, first I'm going to give you a very basic format only. Basic format to get your concepts clear. Then eventually, as we solve more questions, then I will give you more detailed format of the cost sheet.